Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Have a bit of a chat about what's going on here in Spain. We might go into some of the newspapers and check out what is happening there. And then at the end of the video, we'll go into the comment section and take a look what is happening there also. Quite a few comments after yesterday's video, so we'll have a look at some of the main ones that caught my attention. Now, the minimum salary is back in the headlines again. Remember a couple of years ago, this was one of the big changes that the socialist government made when they first came to power. Pushed by Podemos, I think, they increased the minimum salary. In fact, they might have done it a couple of times since they have been in power. And the Bank of Spain has come out yesterday and said in a report that increasing that minimum salary was not good for the job market, and in fact, jobs were destroyed. In fact, they say in the report that increasing that minimum salary took away something like 100,000 jobs here in Spain. And the main group of people affected, the under 24s. And as you would expect, parts of the government, especially those on the Podemos side of the government, have come out and criticized the Bank of Spain, saying that the report is a load of rubbish, that the data and the information is wrong. And they are also very critical of the governor of the institution in question, the Bank of Spain. And the governor has been called a disgrace by some of the Podemos leaders. And I think it was pretty clear back in the day that this was going to be one of the side effects of that increase in the minimum salary. A lot of economists came out back then and said that that was going to be one of the negative effects. And here we are 2 years on with that Bank of Spain report saying just that. So Podemos's first big economic policy having a negative effect on employment. Now, the European Parliament has approved the digital green certificate, or the COVID passport, for travel around the European Union this summer. And I must admit they have done this very, very quickly, considering that the European Union is not the quickest political organisation to get things done. But it just goes to show that where there's a will, there's a way. And I said yesterday that some parts of Spain have already released this COVID passport. I think various autonomous communities here in Spain have already made this available to people living in those areas. Extremadura was one place that I think I mentioned yesterday. Galicia was another, but the community of Madrid, where I am here, has not released this digital COVID passport yet. And this is the document that we are going to need to travel safely around the European Union this summer. And I also heard yesterday that the European Union is trying to organise something similar with the UK and also with the United States, so that people coming to the EU from those two countries have a similar type of document that's recognised in all of the countries here in the European Union. Now, I mentioned in yesterday's video that the Spanish national football team's preparation for the upcoming Euro tournament, which I think begins next week or maybe even sooner, was thrown into disarray because one of the main players tested positive for COVID-19. Well, the bad news for the team is that another player has subsequently tested positive. And the big debate that's happening in the country at the moment is, why wasn't the national team vaccinated before? Why have they left it until the last minute, considering that it's a very, very important tournament for this country? I don't know the reason why the players weren't vaccinated before. In fact, I don't think anybody knows the reason why they were not vaccinated. But of course, officials are now scrambling to get the team vaccinated before the tournament begins. But it might prove to be too late if another couple of players test positive for COVID. So a national crisis here in Spain on the eve of this tournament. Now, if you're planning to come to Spain this year with kids, the rules for PCR testing have recently changed also. The government has changed the criteria, and now children 12 years of age and above will have to show a negative PCR test, not like the 6 years old rule and above that was in place before. So children under 12 won't have to show a negative PCR. So that's good news for people coming to Spain this year with young children, as you won't have to fork out for one of those tests. Now, we'll go into the English version of El País because there's an article that caught my attention earlier today, and it is that Spain hopes to lure German tourists amid uncertainty over UK travel restrictions. The government has launched an €8 million campaign to attract visitors from Germany, as doubts remain over whether Britain's Amber List travel list will be updated this summer. So doubts growing over whether Boris Johnson and company are going to change their criteria and add Spain to the green list, or add some parts of Spain to the green list later this month. The government obviously deciding that it's better to have a plan B and spending that money, €8 million, to attract German tourists here this summer. But to be honest, I'm not sure what Germany is recommending its citizens do this summer, whether or not they're saying at the moment that it's a good idea to travel abroad to countries like Spain or Portugal. Not sure what the Germans are saying, but I read earlier today that the Netherlands has recently updated their list of safe countries to travel to, and the majority of Spain was left off that list. So I imagine that Germany is doing something similar. But as we saw, the government here thinks that it's a good idea to throw 8 million euros into an advertising campaign to convince Germans to come to Spain. And another article that caught my attention this morning is about another one of the big problems that we have in Spain at the moment, about the depopulation in some of the more rural areas around the country. And this information could be useful for people that are planning to come and live here in Spain, but maybe not go to one of the coastal areas. People that are looking for a bit of a change, you might be able to find something in one of these underpopulated or depopulated areas in the country, because the government is going to start offering incentives for people to live in these areas. And the plan that various governments around the country have to make these areas more attractive is that they're going to offer tax incentives, they're going to make high-speed internet more available, they're going to start building more kindergartens, and they're going to give people more access and easier access to renewable energy sources, for example, solar. So that's part of the government plan to repopulate these areas. And I'm sure that for some people it could be an attractive offer. Now let's leave the news there and go into the comment section, check out what's happening there. We'll have a look at this one here from Mike. I see more people are coming from Oz and asking about the economy. As Stuart often says, Spain is a great place to retire but not to work. Employment in Spain is very tricky unless you come with a special skill that is in short supply, and even then it can go wrong. Last I heard, Oz is many times better for employment and economy. The climate is comparable, so where's the benefit? Culture? Yeah, Mike, thanks for the comment. I mentioned this yesterday because somebody said that they were planning to come to Spain in 2022, and they thanked me for the videos that I put out and showing them life here in Spain. And you're right, Spain doesn't offer an abundance of opportunities when it comes to the job market. Unemployment is traditionally very high, so what's the attraction? And I suppose people come here for different reasons. Some people might fall in love with the country and the culture. Some people might come here because their partner is from Spain. There's lots of young Spanish people living in Australia nowadays, so obviously they get into relationships down there, then they decide to come back to Spain, they convince the other person, and therefore both people end up in Spain. Maybe some people are just looking for something different, to experience a different country. Maybe people want to teach English, and there has traditionally been a big market for English teachers in this country, so it's not difficult to find work in that field. And then of course nowadays with the Auxiliares de Conversación program, lots of people from countries like Australia, the States, Canada decide to come to Spain for a couple of years. But living here long term and depending on the Spanish economy can be done, so it's not impossible, just a little bit harder than some other places. One here from Damien. Hi Stuart, watch your news every night. Thank you. Here in Ireland, the country has opened up to outside bars and dining. I plan to get back to Spain in July to our place on the Orihuela Costa. So hopefully with our vaccinations complete, the green card will be in operation. Keep up the good work. Damien. Yeah, Damien, thanks for the comment. I have heard that Ireland is slowly starting to open up again, outdoor dining, as you mentioned there, after a very strict lockdown in that country for quite a while now. So hopefully for you guys there in Ireland, the situation continues to improve and more things start to open up. And as I mentioned earlier, the vaccination certificate, or the green card, as you mentioned there, has been approved by the European Union today. So I imagine it's just a question of time before it's available in Ireland. So you shouldn't have a problem to get to the coast this summer. One here from Nelly Porto. Hey Stuart, an update to one of my comments a few weeks ago. I am finally settled in the heart of Malasaña, Madrid, renting a bedroom, working in a good job close by, and made fantastic friends. I really have to thank you for your videos. I was very unhappy in the UK, and your daily videos encouraged me to be able to have the energy to move here. I couldn't appreciate it enough, and I will still continue to watch your videos, especially the travel ones. All the best. Yeah, Nelly, thanks for the comment. Good to see that you made the move to Spain and that you are happy in Malasaña. And that is one of my favorite neighborhoods in Madrid. Very central, close to everything, some fantastic bars and restaurants, and some fantastic shops in that part of Madrid. So keep us up to date on your experiences here, and I hope all goes well. One here from Tony. In respect to the vaccines, I initially was adamant I didn't want one, especially the AstraZeneca version. But when I eventually got called up, I felt quite privileged to be part of the community and had the 2 Pfizer injections, and am happy about that, just as I was when the hospital called me up to have a new artificial knee fitted. Living in another country of my choosing and getting that treatment makes me feel honoured and grateful. Yeah, Tony, thanks for the comment, and good to see that you are happy about the way things work here in Spain, especially when it comes to the medical system, and I must say that I am also very happy with the way that system works here in Spain. I have never had a problem with the health system here. Every time I go, people are friendly, I get the same attention that everybody else gets, and it does make you feel part of the community. I had an operation a couple of years ago and I couldn't be more satisfied with the treatment I received. It's not a perfect system, of course, but in my opinion it does work fairly well. And when it comes to the vaccination campaign, the only complaint that I have is that it was a little bit slow getting off the ground, but now things seem to be moving very, very quickly. And the experience that I had the other day with my first vaccination was also first class. One here from David: congratulations on receiving your first vaccination. I live in Alicante province. I'm 63 and still waiting for my first jab. All I get told is to wait for my message. I'm getting a bit frustrated, especially when I hear people younger than me are getting their vaccination. Keep up the good work. Yeah, David, thanks for the comment, and sorry to hear that you haven't been called up yet. And I imagine that there is a problem somewhere in the system. It's not normal you being 63 haven't received your vaccinations and people younger than you are being called up. So what I suggest you do is get in contact with the Valencian Community Health Service. There should be a number for you to call to find out what's going on, to see if there is a problem. That's what happened to me. I rang up and found out that my number wasn't registered. So I made a couple of phone calls and everything was sorted, and I was vaccinated about 4 days later. So get in contact with them and they should be able to point you in the right direction and let us know how you get on. And finally, one here from World Traveller: I love the way you intelligently and skillfully handle the negative comments, especially the latest one you got about taking the vaccine. Yeah, World Traveller, thanks for the comment. I try not to let the negative comments get to me. I usually ignore them, but some comments, like the one I mentioned yesterday, need to be addressed. And I'm a fairly live and let live type of guy. I don't normally criticize people on their decisions. People should be able to do whatever they want, but it really annoys me when people criticize other people's decisions. And that's a big problem that we have nowadays. If you don't believe that there's a pandemic, keep it to yourself. Don't try to convince other people of what you think. And if you don't want to be vaccinated, again, keep it to yourself. I don't want to know. But every day I read in the comment section that you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you're an idiot if you do this, you're a sheep. So if you think like that, fantastic, it's your opinion, but stop trying to convince everybody else. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.